lasses, welcome back. It's Ascended StarCraft League. It's StarCraft. It's PvZ on Deadwing. Let's get right into player introductions. I'll start us off. In the bottom left-hand corner, represent nobody but his fine self, the blue Protoss player, tnerb.
And spotting up in the top right-hand corner, representing Team Neural Gaming, it is the green Zerg player, NeuralisK.
And of course, as many of us who are familiar with the ASL know, he's one of our very own admins. He's an emotional player. He's a good player. He's a Season 3 finalist. He's a Season 2 champion. So tnerb is up against it in this match for the time being, at least. It's best of 5, of course, as tnerb's probe is making his way in the upper left of Deadwing. One thing just to note already is the pylon placement from tnerb. It's indicating to me that he's going to be a little bit more in the macro area because he placed it down there where he can start to wall off for his natural earlier than later. We have a hatch first coming out of NeuralisK, so he's going to go ahead and be comfortable doing pretty much the same thing. So this is already shaping up to be a pretty good macro-intensive game, at least for the early part. It's not going to end before 10 minutes. That's my prediction.
I absolutely agree with you. Both of them are playing very, very macro style, macro-oriented. So we're not going to be seeing any real early aggression unless some early lings, a few lings end up just pushing against tnerb.
Yeah, there are, of course, some 2-base all-ins that hit, around that 9-10 minute mark, but typically if you're going to be doing that roach play, or I suppose it would be an Immortal Sentry all-in, it's the timing for it is around that 9 to 11 minute mark. It's not going to be hitting any earlier than that unless NeuralisK just cuts drone production or something along those lines and makes a bunch of lings. We do have the spawning pool for him finishing up. Things are looking fairly standard. We do have a forge just about to finish up for tnerb as he goes ahead and tries to cement any sort of aggression into that main, or that natural rather. And that's going to be a pretty good wall with some cannons and a little bit of those extra tankier buildings. Means he can probably take his second fairly safely.
Absolutely. Not quite sure, but I think, yeah, if this pylon actually goes down like really fast to some lings, then honestly the lings are just kind of come behind here, go right up to the natural or the main, and just do a lot of damage if he actually realizes it at the right amount. But instead, NeuralisK is going for his third.
Yeah, he's going ahead and take a third on the low ground there instead of the other position, which in my opinion for Zerg is actually better because it helps with your creep spread a little bit more, especially in a diagonal spawn. And both players know, of course, that there is diagonal spawns to be had on this map. And this, I think it caters a bit more to Zerg if it's the diagonal spawn. If you're closer for your Protoss player, it makes getting forward pylons easier as NeuralisK goes ahead and takes the Xel'Naga Tower, catches a probe out on the map, and that was probably tnerb's probe that he was going to use to plant forward pylons for later push and reinforcement. So he's going to have to get another one on the map if he wants to have that quick reinforcement. But like I was saying, I think the spawns work out for NeuralisK. He's not a bad macro player. It's going to be interesting to see what type of player tnerb is. I've never casted him before coming in late to this season. But it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to go ahead and stick with this 2-base.
Yeah, I've never actually seen too much of what tnerb does, but I have watched, and I've actually had the honor of losing to NeuralisK, so I know he's really, really powerful and aggressive player. So, yeah,
powerful and aggressive coming out of NeuralisK. Yeah, I mean he's got that style. He right now, of course, he's doing the 3 hatch, and we have a Stargate coming out of tnerb. We're gonna probably see maybe a Phoenix to deal with that Overlord. As he's got this wall pretty much clamped down. Mothership Core is making its way around the map just to see if he can spot any lings hiding out that might come in and bum rush his natural, something like that. And NeuralisK lings are making their way across the map just to check for any proxy Stargates, maybe a hidden Twilight Council, Dark Shrine, something like that. Because the Overlord is in the main right now, and the first thing we have is a Phoenix, so he's going to be the one dealing with the Overlords. And NeuralisK is going to go ahead and see what's coming out, and there's nothing in the production tab for NeuralisK, and there it is. There's a Spore Crawler, so he's expecting Oracles. He's going to be a little happy when he sees the Phoenix, in that it's not going to be harassment into his mineral line, but he's going to be a little sad because he's going to lose an Overlord, and he's not producing any right now, and he's going to actually get a little bit supply blocked here.
and we do have some sentries also being rallied up here to the third base location, which tnerb is taking. So I guess he's feeling really, really confident to go ahead and just continue macroing up. Like I said, he's dropping his Nexus and got his Phoenix is probably going to be out trying looking to snipe over some Overlords, which he'll be successful in doing, I think.
Yeah, 2 more Overlords seem like they might be caught out. Actually, no, those are Lings on the map, not Overlords. But the Overlords are, of course, constantly going to be under threat from this Phoenix, as he's going to get under fire from that Spore Crawler. 2 Phoenix now on the field for tnerb. One thing is that NeuralisK there was a little bit supply blocked for a little bit, so he's not been able to keep up with tnerb. tnerb not necessarily using his chrono boost that much on probes. Might be waiting a little bit to see if he can start pushing out some gateway units, but typically, of course, the 2 macro things that are the most important for these 2 types of players, Protoss, of course, chrono boost, and how often NeuralisK is going to be hitting his injects and things of that nature, and he seems to be keeping a pretty good hold on that. So it's not necessarily the finer points of the game. Most Zerg players know you got to hit injects. It's about the staple of the game. So it's just in the end of continuing to keep up with it, getting your creep spread going. And right now, NeuralisK is comfortable to stay on 3 base. You might expect him to have been on 4 by now. So I'm a little not worried just yet, but it's a little strange that he wouldn't, having not felt any 2 base pressure out of the Protoss player, not gone ahead and taken a 4th hatchery.
Well, absolutely. I'm actually surprised too that he hasn't taken his 4th or dropped a macro hatch behind that. But just looking at the income tabs here, actually our Protoss player tnerb is just a little bit ahead as well as far as the income is concerned. So that's going to actually, if NeuralisK doesn't take his 4th pretty soon or drone up really, really hard, he's going to end up falling behind really, really fast, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems like NeuralisK is just slacking a little bit on his macro, doesn't have his 3rd saturated yet, and tnerb able to chrono boost probes out pretty early and pretty well. Of course, the response to the early heavy Phoenix play from NeuralisK is to get Hydras out. He's got Hydra range on the way with the Groove Spine upgrade. Speed is now just about halfway done for him as well, so he's going to be able to counterattack fairly quickly with Lings if he ever needs to. A lot of energy on those Phoenix for a fight later on. If it does happen, we'll be able to lift as much as those Phoenix bros do lift. They like to hit the gym these days. Colossi is going to be the call from tnerb as he produces another robotics facility, so he's going to be able to double produce them at a time. No extended thermal length just yet that I know of.
But that's definitely going to negate the Hydra play that that NeuralisK is actually going for. The Hydras are just going to melt to the Phoenix attack. I mean, not Phoenix, but Colossus attack.
Colossi.
And yeah. So it's going to be a thing. I mean, he's definitely, once he scouts the Colossi tech, then he's not going to really be able to do anything except for change his tech yet again. In order to take care of that, probably go for a Spire and get some Corruptors or something like that.
And of course, the main thing is having enough larva and resources to be able to tech switch once you lose a big part of your army. The observer here for tnerb seeing everything, but like we were talking about earlier, in that NeuralisK wasn't able to take his 4th as early as he might have wanted to, means that his larva pool is not going to be as big as it could have been had he had it for a long period of time and had been hitting injects. And the reason why is because he cut a lot of drone production for this massive attack of Lings and Hydras that are going to push right about now. He's coming his way up into this 3rd base. There's a lot of stuff here to deal with. Gateways in between. One Colossus already in the fight. The Lings getting in, depowering down that pylon. Pushing overcharge is called. One Colossus already going to work in these Hydras. The Zealots are able to get right in on top of them. One Colossi does go down, but unfortunately the Zealots getting right in on top of the Hydras, and this has been a great hold from tnerb. Not necessarily the best idea ever from NeuralisK to attack up a ramp without vision into a wall. Just a big combination of all the worst things in the world happening at once for NeuralisK. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can bounce back. A ton of drones just popped for him, so the call is now to go ahead, go right back into this macro style.
Well, extended thermal lance is just finishing up, so the Colossus is going to be able to get a little bit more damage done as the engagements take place. And we do have a little bit of a Zealot harass going on up in the 4th base location.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what really happened was NeuralisK kind of miscued his Lings there. He had him take out a pylon, but the surface area wasn't great enough for them to get anything else done. And instead of soaking up damage from the Colossi for the Hydras really took the brunt of the Zealots and the Protoss mega unit, which is the Colossi, of course. Hydra's going to find a forward pylon, but the Phoenix are now going to get in right on top of this mineral line if they start lifting. There is a Spore Crawler in that mineral line, so it should be safe for the time being. tnerb at least giving NeuralisK a little bit of a foot back into the game by letting him rest a little bit, and of course getting a bit of a supply block himself there. He was at 150 for some time. We actually have a shield upgrade coming in for the Protoss player, so not every day that you see shields upgraded before armor or weapons.
Indeed, and What I seem to be seeing here is that NeuralisK is actually not going for a Spire Tech when he already scouted the Colossus. And he's going Hive, so I'm wondering if he's going, I don't know, maybe Swarm Host or, heck, Ultralisk even, to go ahead and combat that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would guess Swarm Host. The map is set up for it. Cross spawns like this. He's getting his creep spread out there. He doesn't have the best infrastructure to support it, and obviously, where's his? It's morphing into Hive just now, so he's now going to be able to. He's got an infestation pit. Anyway, so there goes
the Ultralisk.
So exactly what you called. Yeah, so good call on that one. I didn't expect to see Ultralisks because I expected to see Swarm Hosts, but you know, Ultralisks are a big, clunky, tanky unit, and they might be able to get right in on top of these Zealots and do what they are made to do. So we've got no Ultralisks yet on the way because it hasn't finished yet. But I saw the Ultralisk Cavern and thought we were producing an Ultralisk. But he is, of course, getting upgrade for his armor and his melee attack. So he's sticking to that. And I mean, he's trying to help out his Ultralisks in the melee attack division. But his Hydras need the range attack division. So, you know, it's a little interesting. He's having to deviate from the standard play, it seems like.
Oh, and I think that tnerb is looking to take an aggression here, and he's going to start cleaning up the creep tumors. I'm just tongue-tied tonight. I apologize.
No worries. You're fine. Keep going.
And anyway, so yeah, I think he's going to go ahead and take out these creep tumors, and these queens are going to be spotted right away. So I don't think they're going to last too much longer unless he can hide them. And honestly, I don't know if he might be a little reluctant to go ahead and to attack the Zerg player right now. Maybe he doesn't really know what he's going to run into. Maybe that's why he made that hallucinated Phoenix earlier.
Yeah, Warp Prism on the field, though, trying to divvy up NeuralisK's focus right now. Those 3/3 queens are going to get caught out a little bit. One of them is going to get a nice transfuse, but another one lifted up, and the other one, well, that's all she wrote for those 3 queens. But supply is pretty even right now, 197 to 200, but it depends on what we're seeing made. So it's 22 Roaches and Ultralisks. So this is a pretty nice switch out of NeuralisK, and I don't think tnerb is going to expect this. Now he knows what's on the field. The Ultralisk getting right on top of these Zealots here. One Ultralisk about to go down. The Mothership Core goes down, so no recall. These guys are fighting right off of creep now. There's a little bit of a speed advantage lost for the Zerg player as they swallow that hallucinated Colossi. One Colossi getting caught out. That's a little unfortunate. That's going to go for free. And now the forward pylon gets caught out as well, so that's going to stop any further harassment, at least Sans Warp Prism. So really well done from NeuralisK. He bought just enough time to be able to spend his resources. They were climbing fairly high into the 4,000s there for a little bit. So actually a pretty decent hold. He's forcing the issue now, though. He's fighting off creep. Might not be the best idea, and he's getting a couple free shots with those stalkers on the Ultralisk, but he seems to be just fine as he catches right in on top of this army. Now, Phoenix is going to be lifting up Hydralisks, but the Ultralisk is taking a lot of damage, allowing the Hydralisks to output a lot of DPS from the back. tnerb taking a slight supply lead, but the fight is going by way of the Zerg players. The Colossi seem to get caught in a really bad position right now, not able to get all the surface area that they want out. All the Ultralisks save one are down now, and you know what? It turns out tnerb has been able to hold, but this is going pretty back and forth, if I may say so, Shaden.
And now NeuralisK is actually going ahead, aside from the Zealot production back at home, he is making a lot of Roach Hydra right now, and with all this Colossus going down, that's actually going to prove very viable in the situation.
Yeah, really good decision from him, but a great Zealot run by from the Warp Prism is going to be harassing both the Hive and the main. And the
with DTs.
The Hydralisk Den goes down, and there are DTs sprinkled in. I saw the DT Shrine getting made, and I didn't know if he actually made it. The Overseer's not in with the army just yet. I don't think NeuralisK made any Overseers, so the Spore Crawler is the only thing that's causing the detection right now. The Hive is getting focused down. No Queens for a transfuse. It's down to 400. The DTs are getting right on top of it. He's going to lose the Hive. Hive Tech is gone. Now, at least he was able to build all the structures that he needed to, but no more Ultralisk tech. Vipers do pop out just in time, but Overseers now are morphing. But where's your Hive, son? NeuralisK. That's a little bit of a mistake. He wasn't able to deal with the Warp Prism soon enough. He does have 4 hatcheries, one just getting made in the 4th position, but that was a huge pickup for tnerb. Definitely giving him the advantage.
That I was right then and there, just leaning towards NeuralisK being able to take some serious damage right into the front door of tnerb, but now it doesn't look like it's going to happen as soon as I would have thought it was. So that was a bad call on my part, not seeing the Zealot run by do as much damage as it actually did with those DTs.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage coming out. Of course, DTs do do what DTs do, and that is basically deck everything with their Reaper, sword, what have you, whatever weapon they're born with.
The Soul Reaver.
They get the Reaper, right? They get the what's that thing called? The Scythe. They get a Scythe.
That's right.
And then, so if I was a DT, I'd want to be born with the Scythe. I think that looks
another
way cooler.
Zealot Warping coming in though in the main though.
Oh god, fantastic storm, good pools on these Colossi here, but feedbacks go down on the Vipers, and Phoenix are there to clean them up as well. And this is going way of the Protoss player fighting off creep, never the best idea. And now we've got some Archons morphing. Protoss from NeuralisK, he says, not a GG.
No.
It's a BM out of our Zerg player there in the Ascended StarCraft League. Administrator loses Game 1 on Deadwing to tnerb, the Protoss player. So. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, ASL. It's PVZ. We're going to get right into things because there's some cheesy action going down from one of these two players. I'm not going to tell you just yet who it is, but spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, currently 1-0 over his Zerg opponent. It is the blue Protoss player, tnerb.
And spawning up on the top right-hand corner, still sporting the green army, Zerg army colors. It is from Team Neural Gaming. It is NeuralisK. I'm sorry, my mind just totally drew a blank for a second. I don't even know what's going on with me tonight.
You're fine. We've got a drone up here in the top of tnerb's base, and of course we're probably going to see some proxy hatch going down in the base. Once it gets up to 300 supply, we're going to see that drone do what it does, and that is morph into a hatchery. Right now, the Protoss player has no idea what's going on, so it might actually pay dividends. It's gonna be interesting to see what NeuralisK does back home. Of course, we're gonna see a spawning pool next once it hits 200 minerals. There it is. And a couple things you can do. You can do Scarlet Burrowed Roach play, like she's pulled off against Parting, I believe. You can do a couple other things as NeuralisK's drones seem to be making their way across the map just to scout, make sure there's nothing proxied super close to their base. Now we see what's going on. tnerb as the gateway finishes up, and he's pulling what seems to be 8 probes, starting to go in, 9 probes, starting to no, that's 8, 7. There's a couple of probes working on the hatchery right now, trying to make it go down. And in the end, it might not pay off for NeuralisK because it's just the right amount of probes he needs, and the Zealot is getting chrono boosted out just as quickly as possible. Once it's been scouted, typically it doesn't go too amazingly as the Zealot joins the action, and that's going to take care of this hatchery fairly quickly.
But you gotta hand it to NeuralisK right now, though. The amount of mining that he is stalling right now is actually absolutely huge, and he does get the cancel, only loses a few minerals behind it, and that fake hatchery that did actually get scouted did ultimately end up costing our Protoss player a lot more than he bargained for.
Yeah, and he's going to be able to keep that drone alive by morphing it into another hatchery and divvy up the attention of the Protoss player. You say, the Protoss player lost a lot by mining, but there's a Roach Warren on the way as well as 2 hatches for NeuralisK, the Zerg player. So, it's going to be interesting to see if he can make this work. Is it going to be enough as he focuses down the upper hatcheries? Obviously, he has to because it's in his base. The cancellation goes down. That drone's going to try and run away. It's going to make another hatchery and demand the attention of the Zealot and the Stalker. Never what you really want to see from the Protoss player, but this is rough. This is a lot of minerals wasted for NeuralisK. He's not going to finish any of the hatcheries, really, in time. There's 2 Roaches on the way as well as Roach Speed, but GG called for NeuralisK, and that's all she wrote. Back once again, Ascended StarCraft League. It's the round of 8 for the Defender League Platinum players, season 4. So getting right into these player introductions. It is the best of 5 for this evening, and this is the 3rd match. Of course, if the Protoss player wins this one, he wins it all. But gonna go ahead and start off with our green Zerg player in the bottom right-hand corner of Catalina. It is representing Neural Gaming, NeuralisK.
And his opponent looking to go ahead and take this whole match series and walk away with a victory. It is the blue Protoss player, tnerb.
Yeah, and if this guy wins 3-0 versus NeuralisK, it's going to be a little unexpected, I think. He's come in against a pretty, Season 2 finalist, or Season 2 champion, Season 3 finalist. I've said it a couple times, but Making your way into the heart of a tournament, into the latter stages a couple times in a row, takes guts. It takes, you know, the ability to play on stream. It's not the easiest thing to do. Laddering is one thing, and I know some people experience ladder anxiety a little bit. I don't personally, but I do experience anxiety when I play in tournaments that I know are being watched by people, and it's just a different type of play. You make mistakes you don't normally think you would make. You don't make the plays that you're used to making, and sometimes your micro can be a little out of whack, and everything is just a little bit less. It feels like you're taking a step back into the league below you. But NeuralisK, starting with an early pull, and he's getting lings out and early. And I actually like this play out of him. I like him to be a little bit more aggressive, but not overtly so, as in if he doesn't get it, he's going to lose the game really quickly. tnerb going to go ahead and take his natural and send his probe out to begin scouting.
And, you know, I actually really like this wall off here instead of actually doing it over here on the natural ramp. I think that it tends to defend your mineral line a lot better, and you actually don't have to be too far away from the Nexus for photon overcharge.
Yeah, we do have a pylon going down on the low ground of the natural as these 6 lings make their way in, and they're actually going to get us surrounded that probe, and that's 1 kill just now as they make a note of what's going on in the natural. And you know what, Mothership Cores needs to get back. There's 2 probes pulled off the line a little bit. Mothership Core is going to be able to deal with this. That's really the unit that allows Protoss to be able to expand safely. 1 ling, a little low on health, probably going to get targeted down. If he targets it, no, he doesn't. He just starts to A-move on it. And NeuralisK with some nice micro here, taking off the lings that are being targeted, but he ends up losing 2, and probably going to be able to cut out this pressure, all the lings dying by way of Mothership Core laser. Stalker in on the action as well, going to start going to work on this Overlord, and NeuralisK might face a pretty early supply block if he doesn't have this next Overlord produced rather quickly as he rallies it over the top of those ruins, which of course means if you don't have upper vision and a unit in a good position, means you cannot shoot it anymore. So the game has settled down pretty much. Speed coming in the way of the Zerg player, and a little bit of a gateway wall here on the natural ramp for tnerb. Things have settled down a little bit as we begin to see a Baneling nest on the way for NeuralisK. So overtly aggressive, but 12 lings on the way. And
honestly, I don't know if it's going to be very successful, but speed is almost going to be done, so he might actually be able to get a lot of worker kills there. I mean, but then again, I don't know how much energy is on here. We do have 126, so photon overcharge is going to be a thing. So it could go both ways. I mean, it really depends on if the Mothership Core scouts the extra aggression that's going to be heading his way fairly soon.
Yeah, and especially not going to be good if the Mothership Core is that far out of position when they do hit, and the lings are seemingly skirting the visual path of that Mothership Core. So if these lings get in, they might be doing the damage that NeuralisK so desperately wants. I really like his play this type of game now, and the Mothership Core is making its way back. Lings getting in on top of this wall here, going to be able to get in, but 1 force field goes down, and those lings are going to have to pull out of there. 2 sentries able to put the clamp on any further aggression, and that is it. NeuralisK tapping out early, and not what I wanted to see.